everyone, and welcome to the tutorial for Drivetime, another Tommy Emmanuel song. First of all, let me welcome the new patrons to the credit roll, and this time the honor goes to Curtis and Marcel. If you want early access to other tutorials or notation and tablature files, then please head over to Patreon and join up as well. If you want to support the channel without monthly fees, there is a PayPal donate link down in the description as well. Drivetime is one of Tommy's more popular songs, and I've tried to divide the song into different sections, and I'll try and guide you through each section as well as I can. I'll be showing you quite a few alternatives, especially when it comes to chord voicings, where Tommy's using the thumb over the side of the neck, and there are quite a few of those in this song. I've tried to keep the pace of the tutorial nice and slow, because that is quite the contrast to what this song is offering you. If I have to choose one word to describe how it feels to play this song all the way through from start to finish, then there is only one thing that comes to mind, and that is relentless. As soon as you pick that first open bass note, you are in for a wild ride. Tricky chord voicings, a lovely melody, but one that jumps all over the neck, a combination of a lot of different techniques, and a tempo that never ever backs down. You could in some ways compare it to the recent tutorial of The Mystery, but The Mystery was centered around one certain technique, cross-picking, while Drivetime uses a lot of different techniques in a constant combination stream. There's really nothing like it in Tommy's repertoire up until this point. I'm not trying to dampen your spirits, I'm just telling you there is quite a lot of work ahead of you. Are you ready? Then let's get to work. All you need is a guitar in standard tuning and a plectrum. Normally Tommy, in the original recording on the only album, Tommy played it without a capo on the second fret. In more recent years, I noticed on his live videos that he started adding a capo on the second fret. Now normally I would choose to do my tutorials without a capo, so you wouldn't always have to count up 2 extra frets from what you see down below in the tablature. Now in this song, the capo on the second fret makes such a huge difference in some chord voicings and how easy they are to play, that I decided to include it in this case, because playing this song in open position without the capo is a lot harder than it even is with the capo on the second fret, so it might put a lot of people off. So go ahead, slap on the capo on the second fret, and let's get to work. Now first I'm going to play through the intro, and then as always the explanation will follow. That is already the first chord of the verse. Now let's go over the chord voicings first. You're starting out with an E major chord. I'm counting always from the open position. E with an added ninth. So open E string, second fret middle finger on the A string, fourth fret pinky on the D string, first fret index finger on the G string, and 2 open strings up top. This is already straight away one of those chords that are just a little bit easier to play with the capo on the second fret. Then we're moving to a C sharp minor ninth chord, middle finger fourth fret on the A string, index finger second fret on the D string, and then ring finger and pinky both fourth fret on the G and B strings. And you need an open string, open E string up on top of that chord as well. Then to a fingering that I'm always playing differently from what Tommy is playing. Tommy then moves to an F sharp dominant chord with first a sus4 addition, then moving to a straight up dominant chord. Tommy plays this with a thumb over the side of the neck, second fret on the low E string, index finger second fret on the D string, and then pinky on the fourth fret of the G string, moving to the middle finger on the third fret. So from a sus4 chord to a dominant 7th chord. Now moving the thumb over the side of the neck in this part for me, it really requires me to adjust my whole playing posture. So just for that one bass note, I have to lift up the wrist to get that thumb on top. Tommy does this as if it's nothing. But I learned this years ago when figuring it out for the first time. I learned to play this with a bar, and this is how it's really ingrained in my playing at this moment. So you'll see me play this chord with a bar throughout the rest of the tutorial. And if you struggle playing this chord with the thumb over the side of the neck, then you can go the same way. So Tommy does this: thumb, index finger, pinky to middle finger for the movement from the sus4 to the dominant 7th chord. I do the same thing. I just lay a bar across the 2nd fret, 2nd fret on the low E string, 2nd fret on the D string, and then pinky, 4th fret on the G string, moving to the 3rd fret for the dominant 7th chord. One thing to watch out for is when you drop that bar chord across the whole neck, is sometimes you can get, without wanting to do that, is a hammer-on those first 2 strings. You're coming from that C sharp minor 9th chord, and if you drop down the bar across the 6 strings, you might get a hammer-on those top 2 strings. So try to concentrate the pressure on the lower strings. All you need from this F sharp chord is the low E and the low D chord. Just have a look at how this looks if you put those chords back to back. So you're coming from E to C sharp minor 9th, and then to play that F sharp chord with the thumb over the side of the neck, I really have to move the whole posture to get to this, while this, from E to C sharp minor to just a bar, is to me feels easier and feels more natural to play the chord in this way, especially because the next chord is again a bar at the 2nd fret, but now only spanning 5 strings, moving to a B dominant 7th sus4 chord, topped off with a pull off on the 4th fret to the 2nd fret to an open E string. So those are the 4 chords you need to play: E at the 9th, C sharp minor 9th, F sus4 to dominant 7, and then to B dominant sus4, pulling off back to the E chord. And I hope in this case you can see that moving from E, C sharp minor to F with the thumb over the side of the neck and back to a bar at the 2nd fret is a bit of a detour compared to E, C sharp minor, F sharp with the bar chord to a B. It just feels a lot more economical in terms of movement to me. Normally Tommy is really on the lookout for stuff to be played as economic as possible with as little movement as you need to get the part down. So I'm not really sure why he chooses to play with the thumb over the side of the neck in this case, but you could just swap it out for a bar. Now let's have a look at the picking pattern, because this is important as well. What is mostly happening is Tommy is playing this in downstrokes as he's going down the arpeggio, and playing upstrokes on either the last note of each arpeggio, the top strings, or the top 2 strings. So what you get is down, 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 up. Now let's have some special attention for the timing of just that very first chord, because you're starting the song in front of the first beat. You get 1, 2, 3, 4. You're starting that low E note on the 2nd part of the 4th beat, and the B note 2nd fret on the A string is played on the 1st beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. That is the timing of the very first chord, and you're playing this down, 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 up. Moving to the C sharp minor chord, picking pattern, down, down, up, up. So 2 downstrokes on the lower sounding strings, 2 upstrokes on the thinner or the higher sounding strings. To the F sharp chord, down, down, up, pull off. As always, the last note or the highest note of each arpeggio is played with an upstroke. Down, down, up, pull off, upstroke. As you're moving down the bar to the second fret only across 5 strings, you need to play one more chord note of that B dominant 7th chord, again with an upstroke. So starting from the F sharp chord, down, down, up, pull off, up on the 2nd fret of the G string, then again a downstroke on the B string and an upstroke on that high E string for the pull off, pulling off, and again an upstroke on that open string to start back on that E chord. Let's have a look at the timing. So the very first low E bass note is played in front of the beat, and then each chord is anticipated, which means that each chord is played in front of the beat as well. 3 and 4 and... And then this low E bass note is played on the beat. That's the only time when a bass note is landing on the beat. So, and to get the rest of the timing going, we are playing a bit of a shorter arpeggio this time around on the E chord. And that is how it will stay throughout the rest of the song. So when you repeat the E chord, it is just down, down, up, just 3 notes. Open E string, D string, upstroke on the G string. 3 and 4 and... That is the whole loop. There is one fill or one variation that Tommy sometimes likes to play on that B chord. So up until now we always played to that 2nd fret and then the bass note. Sometimes Tommy likes to switch that around, playing, doing the pull off and then switching the bar and playing the bass note first, the D string, and then the same pull off on top as he always does. Let's make the comparison between those two. So this is the standard version. And this is the variation. And he sort of mixes them as it goes along. One more time, really slowly. Standard form. First the melody note, then the bass note. And then the variation, first the bass note. Those are the 2 options. And that is basically the whole intro. Now make sure you get this down really well, because this will pop up throughout the song. It's something that will always reappear after each verse, after each chorus. You'll always play this little loop again and again and again. So figure out for yourself what you want to do with that F sharp chord, bar or thumb over the side of the neck, and also see if you want to play that variation on the B chord or you just want to stick with the standard version. Let me play the intro one time, really slowly, then it's off to the next part. 3 and 4 and... That is the ending of the intro. The very last time you're playing that same pull off to the 2nd fret, instead of playing the open E string, you're now sliding from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, dropping down a bar at the 4th fret to get a G sharp minor 7th chord. That's the first chord and the first melody note of the intro, of the verse, sorry. let me play the full verse. Just gonna drop it a bit down compared to concert speed so you can follow along from the very first time, and then a lot of explanation will follow. Here we go. I'm going to start from those last 4 chords in the intro and then move straight into the verse. Straight back into that same intro loop. So as I told you, that intro loop will pop up again and again and again. Now let's have a look at the verse. So you're starting from that last B chord, sliding up to the 7th fret with the pinky, adding in a bar across the 4th fret, across all 6 strings. And if you want to, for extra safety, you can add in the ring finger as well on the 6th fret, giving you a full G sharp minor 7th chord. After that melody note, Tommy will play a fill. He will arpeggiate the chord, but he will do this differently each and every time. So I have written something down below in the tablature. Looks like this. So just a basic arpeggio, all notes coming from within the chord, but Tommy plays something a little bit different each time. So what is happening? You're pulling off, sliding up towards that 7th fret, then adding in the bass note. Then playing, in this case I'm playing the D string and the G string, and back to that same melody note. Picking pattern again is all downstrokes except for the higher sounding notes. Up, down, 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 up. Little percussive tap. Nothing too hard, just muting the chord basically. And then index finger, middle finger on the G string and B string, both on the 4th fret. Again, all downstrokes. Down, down, up to an open E string. And then a really hard chord, one of those make or break Tommy Emmanuel chords is coming. You're leaving down the middle finger, index finger, and that open string on top, and you're adding in a bass note at the 4th fret on the A string with the thumb. So the thumb has to reach across 2 strings to play a C sharp bass note on the 4th fret. And you're still not done, you have to add in the pinky on the 6th fret as well. Again, this is one of those chords that without the capo on the 2nd fret is extremely hard to play, and even with the capo on the 2nd fret, the thumb on the A string will hurt for a lot of people, probably. You can switch it out. You can play this chord as well. The exact same thing, index finger on the A string, pinky 6th fret on the D string, and then middle finger, ring finger, 4th fret on the G and B string. But that also means you have to play it like that if you're coming from the first bar. So first time around we did this. Adding in the chord with the thumb, or you do this. It's the same thing. It's not an easy chord either, but it does leave you with an option to play something else than that thumb over the side of the neck on the A string. See what works for you. So either the thumb, 4th fret on the A string, pinky 4th fret on the D string, and then index finger, middle finger, 4th fret on the G and B string, or switching it around to this, index finger, pinky, middle finger, ring finger, and don't forget you have to leave that open E string ringing out on top as well. Not an easy chord. If this is still really hard to do, then the only option left, if you want to get the whole song down and don't want to get discouraged by this one song, is leaving out the pinky and playing. So leaving, this is what is written down in the tab. leave out the pinky, and instead of playing that double stop on the G and B string, just arpeggiate them separately. And you get the same chord, you're leaving out one single note. This will probably be a lot easier to play for a lot of people than this, or even this. Okay, so this is one of those chords you really have to figure out for yourself to see what is possible in your playing posture and to see which way you are heading. Let me put those two bars back to back. To a 6th index finger 4th fret on the B string, pinky 7th fret on the high E string, adding in an open A to a standard A 6th. I use the ring finger on the 6th fret of the G string, middle finger 5th fret on the high E string. And I use hybrid picking for this. When I say I mean Tommy uses hybrid picking for this. So middle finger and ring finger for the high sounding 6th intervals, plectrum for the A string, and back to 2 fingers. I still use the middle finger and the ring finger at this point. Tommy often switches to the plectrum and the middle finger. So that's a possibility as well. If you don't need a bass note at that time, you can just swap out for the plectrum and don't use the ring finger, but use the middle finger and the plectrum only. Then to another quite tricky fill. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is the 3rd time I started recording this tutorial, and the first 2 times I put my guitar away in frustration just because of this one little fill. That's all. It passes by so quickly, but this is a G sharp minor chord. Tommy plays this with a full bar across the 2nd fret, adding in the middle finger on the 4th fret of the low E string, the ring finger 4th fret on the G string, and then hammering on the pinky to the 4th fret on the high E string. So 4th fret, and then hammering on to the 4th fret, coming from the 2nd fret. Playing this with a full bar to me feels really weird, so I started playing it with a bit of a smaller bar. The reason why Tommy plays this with a full bar is because you have to move to the F sharp minor chord straight away. But just this little hammer-on top, that little detail really is, in the full speed version of the song, is really tricky to get right. And it passes by so quickly. I've tried other versions as well. I've tried it with the thumb over the side of the neck. Same note, so thumb over the side of the neck, 4th fret, ring finger 4th fret on the G string, and then hammering on again with the index finger to the pinky from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret. At times this even feels a little bit easier. I know it's strange with the thumb over the side of the neck, but this fingering, I tend to push the low E string off the side of the neck each time because it passes by so quickly. So and then everything. The thing that turned out to be the biggest problem if you want to perform this hammer-on is, without knowing it, I also did a hammer-on with the ring finger each time. So if you want to add in this little embellishment to go all the way full Tommy Emmanuel, then make sure that you get your middle finger and your ring finger down on the 4th fret before initiating that hammer-on. Otherwise you will probably be getting this type of thing, and that usually doesn't sound too clear. So make sure the middle finger and the ring finger are at their required positions before initiating that hammer-on top. And it passes by really quickly. Now for those, again, that are looking for a way to play this song in full, and again find this really tricky, you could also just leave out that little hammer-on on top, and then things become a lot easier. That's when you get this. Just a straight bar across the 4th fret, dropping down to the 2nd fret. That's a lot easier, and for most people that little hammer-on won't even be missing. It passes by so quickly that a lot of people won't hear it. I'm including it just to be complete and show you each and every option. But if you're struggling, leave out that embellishment in the beginning, work through the whole song, and then maybe come back later and see if you can add it in at a later point. Let me play everything we have up until this point back to back. Minor 7th chord, adding in a pinky on the 5th fret of the B string as a melody note, and then moving the bar down to only 5 strings, going for what looks like a B dominant 7th chord, but you're not actually playing the G string. So 2nd fret with the bar, 4th fret on the D string with the ring finger, and then hammering on from the 2nd fret on the B string to the 4th fret with the pinky, ending up on the high E string 2nd fret. To that open E string, and then we're straight off into that intro chord loop again. That's a lot, just for those first few bars, a lot to take in. Let me play it back to back, everything we saw up until this point. Pay extra attention to the picking strokes. It's nearly impossible to really name each and every one of them for the whole song, but I'm going to try to play it as slowly as possible so you can pick out whatever I missed in the explanation. Coming from those first 4 bars of the verse, you're heading straight back into the intro loop. And after that, the first few bars of the verse are basically the same thing, and then we're moving into a new direction. So first that intro loop again. That's the same thing. Then again to that same 6th fill. And then we're moving up the melody, so instead of going for the 6th on the 5th fret like we did before, we're moving bass note and then adding in the ring finger on the on the 7th fret next to the pinky on the G string, sliding up to the 9th fret. Back to that same 6th we saw the first time around. To an A chord with an open B string, and then we're moving down the index finger just 1 fret. You're not actually playing that open B string. Tommy sometimes likes to play just a full chord. At this point we're just playing the arpeggios. For those 6th tones up, again I'm using the middle finger and the ring finger to pluck those 6th intervals. If you want to, you can also swap over to the plectrum with the middle finger, for example. Then to a G sharp dominant 7th chord with a flat 9 on top, bar across the 4th fret, middle finger, G string on the 5th fret, and hammering on the ring finger on top to the 5th fret as well. Removing the ring finger, adding in the pinky on the 7th fret, and then dropping down that bar is something really typical of Tommy. So he's dropping down that middle finger across 2 strings. Sorry, and forgot he adds in a little bass note on the 6th fret as well. Adding in the ring finger on the 6th fret on the low A string. Dropping down that bar across 2 strings. So there's a lot going on in just this one chord. and he's snapping that chord off really short, so that when you play that little bar across the 5th fret, it's played really, really short. And I know that chord with the flattening the middle finger is not easy. It's not for everyone. You could try and cheat your way around by quickly removing the ring finger and playing that same chord tone underneath. So what you're doing is the song is moving to a G sharp dominant 7th chord with a raised 5th, and you can maybe cheat your way around this in this fashion and really quickly shift that ring finger to the 5th fret on the B string, or maybe again just leave out that bass note on the 6th fret and replace it with the 7th interval on the D string. That might make it a lot easier. So the original version, moving to a C minor, or the alternative with the 7th interval down here instead of the bass note. And again, moving to a C minor chord. As always, when I'm showing you these options, I know this isn't what Tommy intended. I'm not trying to dumb things down or show you that I know better than him. It's just an option for people who really struggle with certain chords to give you an option that allows you to play the song all the way through. So one more time with a little bar, or with the 7th interval instead of that low bass note. And again, this passes by so quickly that a lot of people probably won't even notice the difference. We're not changing a melody note, we're only changing a bass note. Then we're moving to a C sharp minor 7th chord with one of those really typical Tommy Emmanuel slides quickly down from the 8th fret to the 7th fret, all on one string. That probably won't be too difficult. If this feels like a stretch, this is what it sounds like without the slide on top. Sometimes Tommy likes to pick another bass note or another chord tone in between. So just with another bass note in between those melody notes. Then to a low E open bass string, bar across the 7th fret, hammering on the high E string to the 9th fret. And now pay extra attention to the fingering because we're moving down the neck really quickly. So open E string, hammering on top to the 9th fret, removing the ring finger and then sliding from the 8th fret to the 7th fret, again with the ring finger, back to an open E string, another open E string, but this time on top, and to an A major added 9th chord. So open A string, 5th fret on the D string, 7th fret on the D string, 6th fret on the G string, and then 2 open strings. And again, full disclosure, this is again a chord that the next chord is an E chord with a G sharp in the bass. Tommy again plays this with the thumb over the side of the neck, but in combination with the hammer-on lick you're about to play on top, I find this really, really difficult. So what Tommy does is thumb over the side of the neck, ring finger, 6th fret on the D string, index finger, 4th fret on the G string, middle finger, 5th fret on the B string, giving you a little E triad with a G sharp in the bass. And then Tommy plays a hammer-on going from the middle finger, 5th fret, to the pinky, 7th fret on the B string, and then moving the middle finger to the 5th fret on the high E string. Now this hammer-on, doing this while keeping the thumb over the side of the neck, again feels really, really strange to my hands. So again, I play this with a bar. And it just feels a lot more natural in the flow of the song. So what I do is a bar across the 4th fret, hammering on. The rest is exactly the same thing, hammering on from the middle finger on the 5th fret, B string, to the 7th fret with the pinky, and then moving the middle finger to the 5th fret on the high E string. Moving to the 2nd fret, again a bar, hammering on to the 4th fret like we did in the intro a few times. Removing that bar, ending up on just an F sharp minor 7th chord, but we're not playing the low C sharp. We don't need it at this point. And then to just a B bass note and 2, 1, sometimes 2 open strings, so B bass note and an open E string. That's the melody note, the high E string. And Tommy sometimes likes to add in the B string as well. Adding in the pinky on the 4th fret of the B string. And back, straight back into the intro. I know, it's a lot. Let me play those last, the second part of the verse. Slowly, everything back to back, so you can see how it fits together. Again, pay extra special attention to the pick strokes. Once you get this down, you basically have half of the song now, because this will reappear quite a few times. So one time, the second part of the verse really slowly. Straight into the repeat of the verse. That's the whole first verse all the way through. I know there is a lot to unpack here, so you have some alternatives for quite a few chords, thumb over the side of the neck, adding in an embellishment or not, changing fingerings around. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to adjust or adapt to your playing style. I'm going to play it through all the way, the first verse, one more time, really slowly, and then you'll see that the next few parts of the song will turn out quite familiar right away. Here we go. Once again, I'm starting from the last 4 chords of the intro. And that is the full first verse. And after all that hard work on the verse, this seems like a good place to end part 1 of the tutorial. If you want to have a closer look at the remaining parts of the song, then please head over to the second part of the tutorial.